before I start this, this is my opinion, which means you may not like it, and it may not be your opinion. That's fine. You can comment below on why I'm wrong, or whatever the frig you want to say. Basically, this is all just for fun and overanalyzing something that I shouldn't be overanalyzing. So without further ado, here is my problems with the end. The first problem I have with this episode is Tom and Tor's rivalry. This is something I actually mentioned in the video, and I didn't mention it incorrectly per se, but I didn't quite complete it. Because Tom and Tord don't have an interesting rivalry. They barely did anything with it. And I guess that would be fine if they were trying to make Ed the star of his own show, but no, they didn't. They were focusing on Tom and Tord's rivalry, which wasn't even that fun to begin with. It was just kind of infuriating and a little annoying. Now, when I said that they barely did anything with it, what I really meant to say was they barely did anything funny with it. But I think the reason for that is there wasn't a whole lot of balance in the rivalry. Think about the other Eddsworld rivalries in the past. There's obviously Ed and Eduardo, and while Eduardo clearly hasn't had as much screen time as Ed, he still comes off as likable, because you get to know him and you see how funny and pathetic he is. Another reason why it worked is because we were able to empathize with Eduardo in that scene in Power Ed. And if you look far back enough, Tord and Ed had sort of a rivalry too. It was mostly over stupid things, but they would certainly fight, and when they got angry, they got angry. I think the difference between these and Tom and Tord is that in the other rivalries, there were some moral grays in there. Tord and Ed were pretty much on the exact same level, and were both just as bad as the other. Even with Ed and Eduardo, there are scenes where we can empathize with Eduardo. Or I guess one scene, but still counts. This clearly is a good versus evil underdog story, where for some reason nobody believes Tom, and Tord is held high, and Tom has to go and prove to Ed and Matt that he is right, and he will save the day. Yeah! Tom! Hero! And while I am a fan of underdog stories, I almost never like the villain in there. There's an imbalance there, and I don't think the rivalry there was quite as strong as some others on the show. The second thing that really bothered me in this episode was John's death. Not the death itself. Actually, it was a really good choice to kill off that character. We all think Tom is dead, and John is pretty much the nicest character they could choose to kill. So it's not the death itself that I don't like, it's Eduardo's reaction to it. I want you to look back at every episode John and Eduardo were in together. Eduardo hates John. Every time he gets in the way of things, he always threatens him, hits him for things he doesn't even do, emotionally abuses him, etc. And even earlier in the episode, he wished that John was dead. So, why was he upset that John died? I mean, look at him. He's crying. What the hell is going on? And it's not filled in what happened in between then, or how Eduardo realized the error of his ways. It just happens. Boom! Sadness. In fact, a lot of the problems in this episode are really just inconsistencies. For example, take the scene where Tom has to give up his room to Tord. Why? Okay, we know why Tord needs the room, but why does he do it? Aren't there a million ways around this? Can't they share a room, or can't Tord sleep on the couch? Or, better yet, what about Matt's old room? You know how in Hammer and Fail the entire plot of the episode was Matt moving to the attic? Yeah. What about that? But they just don't acknowledge it. It's like it never even happened. And for a legacy that's trying to keep up the continuity, you're really not addressing these things. What about the memory erasing scene? Why did that exist? I thought it was going to come to some huge conclusion in the climax, but it just didn't show up anywhere. All they did with it was show a few scenes where Matt's stupid, because the joke is Matt's stupid. I'm sorry guys, but a lot of the humor in this episode just isn't that funny. But you know what, at least they're not going to the bottom of the barrel and showing us toilet humor and stupid things like that.
Someone please wipe my memories!
Okay, in all seriousness, a lot of this is just nitpicking, and I really shouldn't be that upset about it. But this last thing, it's something that legitimately makes me angry. The thing I hate the most about the end is one lingering question that I have had throughout the entire legacy. Where's Ed? The title character of the show. He's barely in this. I mean, sure, he's part of the climax, sort of. There's a reaction shot to him every once in a while, but that's it. And this has been a problem throughout the entire legacy, but at least in episodes like Fun Dead or Space Face, he at least took some part in it. Like, they were all working together as a team to stop this problem. And even if it was focused a bit more on a different character, that's fine. There were still some scenes with Ed that were really good. But not here. He barely does anything. But what he does do is a whole lot of watching. He watches as Tord moves into their house. He watches as Tom gets continuously hurt by him. He watches as Tom leaves, not going after him. He watches as Matt gets hit in the face and doesn't do anything to stop it. He watches as Tord almost kills Tom and destroys their house. And he watches as Tom saves the gosh diddly darn day. Isn't this supposed to be the main character who's like doing things? And even when Tom runs away, he thinks, maybe I should go after him. But no, he doesn't. Instead, he decides to stay with the person he almost killed over bacon.
Last piece? I'll kill you!
I think in the legacy, they were trying to make Ed a bit like of a nice, sort of bland protagonist. He has his flaws, but he comes through in the end. But instead, they're creating these unintentional flaws in this episode, like, hey, Ed's kind of an a-hole. He's not going after the one person he's probably tolerated the most throughout the years. Now, at this point in the rant, you're probably wondering, oh, Ava, you think you're so smart. How would you write this episode? How would you write it with your knowledge and blah, 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 blah? Well, here's an idea. What if Ed and Tom switched places? Not throughout the entire episode or anything, but at one point, they sort of switch roles. Let me give you a run through. Everything goes through pretty much the same at first, maybe with a few things here and there fixed. We don't need no memory eraser gun. But after Tom runs away, Ed decides to go after him. They have a talk, they talk through their problems. Tom talks about what's going on with Tord, how he feels suspicious. And Ed agrees and tries to go back to his house to talk to Tord. But by the time they get back, it's too late. Matt's outside looking up at the giant robot before him. And Ed gets angry. He starts yelling at Tord, trying to stop him from doing all the evil things he's doing, throwing things at him. He's just straight up pissed. But it turns out Ed's a little too close to the house. And after a missile fires from Tord's robot, Ed seems to be gone, as well as the house. Tom and Matt just get pissed as well. They start using the buttons, they start doing anything they can in their power to stop Tord. They get distracted by John's death where Eduardo's being a dick, where Eduardo is just far away from him, doesn't even realize. You know, that would actually be kind of funny. And then as Tord is flying away, Ed comes up with Tom's harpoon gun and shoots at him, shouting the words, "I am not your friend." And there, Tord's robot explodes. And Ed comes up out of the rubble saying, hey, I guess this harpoon gun was useful after all. And then it ends pretty much exactly the same. How cool would that be if Ed was the one coming up to destroy Tord? If Ed was the hero in the end? But nope, instead in this version, we got Ed just watching it all happen. And Tom being the underdog hero, and Matt being an idiot, and all this stupid stuff. In conclusion, I don't necessarily hate this episode, but I don't think I'd watch it again anytime soon. But hey, that's just my opinion. And you can put your opinion down in the comments below. I'd love to read it. Tell me my audio's good, please. That's all I have to say, guys. Thanks for watching. Like, comment, and subscribe.
I'm not alone.
What's going on with that weird animation cutting me off? Strange.